Today, I'm deciding to go through every single Mines equip and rank them on a tier list from must-have to F tier to show you all what Mines equips are worth getting and what isn't. By the way, I also asked all of you guys if you would rather have this tier list or a unit Mines tier list, and it seems like you guys were pretty split on it. You know, a lot of you guys wanted this and a lot of you guys wanted the unit Mines tier list, so let me know down below if you guys still want that unit Mines tier list, and I probably will still do it. Oh, and by the way, this is actually going to cover all of the Mines equips, even the ones on JP that we do not have yet. And how I'm going to be looking at each of these equips and putting them on a tier list, at least in my head, I may not thoroughly explain it like this every single time, is going to be in terms of usability, viability, and also niche. So without further ado, let's jump right into it. First, we have the Inferno Dragons equip, which is going to be the 4-star magic. If I'm going to be honest here, this thing belongs in pretty much F tier. There's other good burn equips that we have if you are needing a burn item that doesn't have a negative like reducing your own defense. However, I could see an argument for putting this in D tier, because if you do need a burn, then this one could be justified as being a little bit better since it does give you 10% crit rate, but I would much rather prefer that to be 10% crit damage or just 10% damage while the enemy is burning or something along those lines. And yeah, overall, I just think the Crimson Blade could definitely be a lot better than what it is. Next is going to be the 5-star magic, which is currently in JP but not in global. And this one's passive is that it has burn time reduction and burn evasion rate 10% up. And as for the skill, you're able to reduce the enemy's fire resist by 70% and you reduce all allies fire damage by 30%. This one's like a really good positive with like a stupid negative. I don't really know how to feel about this one. I think you could make this be pretty solid if you're able to buff up your damage enough to where the fire damage minus 30% doesn't really matter too much. But this one I would say could have a little bit more gimmicky viability, so I'm gonna put it in D tier. Next is gonna be the girl Palamecia. Now Palamecia has the 4-star support Dignified Silence. Dignified Silence when it first came out was really good because there wasn't too many characters in the game that had the 50 art gauge to all characters or 30 art gauge, 40 art gauge. You know how we are nowadays. So I think right now I would put this in C tier. It's a solid nuking support item if you don't have solid nuke supporters, I guess. But if you have solid nuke supporters, you probably won't be looking at Dignified Silence at all. Now, one thing you will be looking at though is the 5-star support from Omega Palamecia. Omega Palamecia gives you Silent Treasure, which is one of the best Archgen items in the entire game. This thing belongs in must-have. This is an amazing equip. It has one negative, which is consuming everybody's HP, which does kind of suck, but it's only 15%. You can easily heal that back up if you're running a sustain comp. In nuking, it doesn't really matter too much, but if you're using someone like Draken, then I guess it kind of matters a little bit. But 15% really isn't too bad in exchange for 35 arc gauge and 30% crit damage to the whole team on top of an attack level 2 passive. That's 3 positives and only 1 negative. And overall, Silent Treasure is just insanely good. If you get this item, you're going to be using it non-stop. Next, we got the Emerald Bird's 4-star healing item. This thing is just garbage. I'm going to put this in like F tier. Now, we also have the 5-star heal item. This comes from the Omega Emerald Bird, which is currently on JP, which has a passive healing your own HP by 4 per second, and this will heal the target's HP by 2500, and in 15 seconds, you increase the target's HP recovery amount by 100%, and you reduce the target's damage by 50%. This maybe has some viability somewhere. I'm thinking possibly throwing this on like a taunt tank, but I'm just gonna be honest with you, it doesn't really matter how much healing I feel like you give a character. If a character's gonna die to a boss attack, especially like an in-game boss, they're just dead. Like, I don't think you can really save them, to be honest. So because of this, I'm putting this in D tier. It's alright, you know what I mean, but not the best. Next, we got Odious. Regular Odious will have a chance to drop you the 4-star support. This item, not really that great. Skill CT isn't really that valued. There are some characters that really value equipment CT, and whenever that comes around, you could probably find other items that are just overall better than this item. You really never want to increase your equipment CT recovery at all because, let's be honest here, equips are really good in Grand Summoners, and having longer equipment cooldowns just really ain't it. Now, as for Omega Odious though, this thing will give you the 5-star support Sealed Earrings. Now, the way how you use this item is that you can either throw it on yourself, and you'll just cancel out the negative from it, or you throw it on somebody else for the 30% stats and also the 5 art gauge per second for 20 seconds on them. Now this item, if you're using it as an art gauge item, really isn't too great, since if you're looking for a single target Arachnid item, you could just use something like Lesser Demon Heart, which is a grindable, free-to-play item you can get by just fighting the Vows and Death giant boss, and that thing has a significantly shorter cooldown than this item, and yeah, it's just a lot better. This item isn't good even as a single target Arachnid item. I don't really like it at all, especially with a 180-second cooldown. Who thought that was okay? So because of that, I'm putting it in F tier. Just bad. Not good at all. Next, we have Subject B3, and this one is a big one. Subject B3 will be able to drop you the Hatred Claws known as Grief, or also known as B3 Claw. This is one of the best 4-star physicals in the entire game. Not even one of the best 4-star physical in the entire game. Its passive is you reduce maximum HP by 15%, but its skill you consume 25% of your current HP, then for 10 seconds you increase your own attack by 30% and art gauge by 2 per second. The reason why this item is so sought after is because this skill is actually up 24/7 if you have it at max LB. Yes, you heard me right, it has 100% uptime because its cooldown is only 10 seconds. Granted, you're using 25% of your own max HP every 10 seconds, so that is a negative, but you're mostly using this in sustained comps anyway, so you're probably going to be having a healer of some kind, and because of that, it's one of the best items in the game for anybody that has a 4-star physical. Now, unfortunately, as for the next thing, we have the Omega B3 fight, which gives us the 5-star B3 Claw. 5-star B3 Claw isn't nowhere near as good as regular B3 Claw. I think there's definitely some comps out there, some sustained comps where you would use the Shrieking Claws just to stack a ton of physical resist, but if you just want to use somebody that can stack physical resist, if you have them, you could use someone like Draken. Draken does this, and you don't have to worry about consuming your own HP every 10 seconds. I'm going to put it in C tier. Now, next we have the Radiant Dragon. The Radiant Dragon drops a 4-star magic known as the Dragon Gauntlet. So yeah, you reduce the boss's stats element resist by 20% and your own stats element resist by 20%. I don't really see a use in it apart from using this maybe on some stats effect characters, but even then, I mean, probably those stats effect characters you're using have some type of burn resist down or poison resist down in their kit already, because most of them do, if they do evolve around some type of stats element heavily. Next, we got the girl Arachnid. Arachnid actually drops a 4-star support that is able to consume 50% of your own max HP, and then for 10 seconds you increase all allies crit rate by 120%. This item here may come off as just bad, but I'm going to put this item actually in B tier. The reason for this is because Divine Arachnid's Blood is a 4-star support that's actually able to be used on auto. It's kind of the extent of it. Just the fact that you're able to use this and it works on auto. Of course, I think this is kind of fallen off, especially in JP, because now they have the AI system, which will allow you to just use any 4-star support item on the new auto, even including stuff like Terrace Conjunction, which previously didn't work on auto. Well, it worked, but it worked at the wrong time. It didn't pop it as soon as you got into the quest. Next, we have Arachnid's Omega Fight, which will be able to drop you the 5-star variant, which is actually known as Divine Arachnid Tears. This item's a troll item. It's not good. Clearly, you're going to use this on somebody in multiplayer and watch them die instantly. So yeah, it's an F tier item. It's not good. Next, we got the girl Radius. Radius is going to be giving you a 4-star heal that is able to heal everybody's HP by 30%, and then you would decrease all ally stats resistance by 50%. If you want a heal item that just does something similar to this, you could look at something like the 4-star heal from CTB, or you could look at something like the 4-star heal that is known as Flower Cane. I mean, it's a little bit weaker, but it does the same amount of things without reducing everybody's stats resist. So yeah, D tier. Next, we have Omega Radius, which Omega Radius has a 5-star heal that is able to reduce your own max HP by 5% as a passive, but its skill is that you heal a target's HP by 100%, and each time the equipped is used, the magnitude of the heal is reduced by 30%. I don't like this item. So yeah, I'm putting this in F tier. I don't think this is good. Next boss we're looking at is Code Eraser. Eraser has a 4-star defense known as the Arda Core, which reduces your damage taken by 40% and then increases all allies' damage taken by 40% for 10 seconds. The way how this equip works is that one buff activates, then the debuff activates. So the Arda Core at first glance may seem completely terrible, and it's like, what's the point? This equip contradicts itself. It goes from being really good to being absolutely terrible. And the thinking behind this equip is meant to be used to survive nukes, and especially survive nukes if you are nuking that boss. Thanks for an example, Eraser himself. The way how it would work is you would nuke Eraser, and then Eraser would do his nuke, and then you could pop the Arda Core, and you'll probably now be able to survive Eraser's end nuke, as before, all your units would have died. And that's mainly what it's used for. It's a very niche item, and you only see it in like that kind of context. And because of that, I'm going to put it in C tier. Next thing we have Omega Eraser, which is able to give you the Abyss Core. This is a 5-star defense. This one, a little bit too conditional to activate in my opinion. I'm putting it in F tier. Next, we got the boy Garm. Garm gives you a 4-star physical that's completely cracked. I don't know who thought of this one, and I also don't know why Grand Summoners loves 4-star physicals, in the mines at least. This thing's skill doesn't do anything, but its passive though is insane. You reduce your own break power by 100%, but you increase your physical damage by 25%. This is a pretty sizable buff for a 4-star physical, and I'm going to put it in A tier. It's going to be our first A tier item because I don't really think it's a must-have, but if you get it, you can definitely run this on anybody that has a 4-star physical, like in your nukes or anything. I know a lot of people run this on their grays because yeah, it's just really good. Next we have Omega Garm, which gives you a 5-star physical that's able to increase your fire damage by 50% passively, and then for 60 seconds at the start of the quest, you reduce your own stats by 50%, and then it has a skill of 5,500. Increasing your own fire damage by 50% is really good, but reducing your own stats by 50% isn't good. So this one, in my opinion, is D tier. So we have Yugetsu. Yugetsu gives a 4-star magic known as the Blaze Garb. I use this in my nukes. If I'm doing a nuke and I have access to multiple 4-star magics, I'm probably going to be running the Blaze Garb in one of them. I'm going to put it in B tier though, because it's really only used in nukes and nowhere else. Now, as for Omega Yugetsu, you'll be able to get the 5-star variant of the Blaze Garb, which is known as the Hell Flame Garb. Its stacking capabilities is good, but its resistance down that it's inflicting is a little bit too low for me. Only 6%, that's pretty bad. Because of this, I'm going to just put it in F tier. I don't think you can really get much use out of this equip. Next, we have the Plant Boss himself. If you wind up beating his regular version, he can give you the 4-star magic known as Starving Root. This has a 50% chance of poisoning the enemy, and you increase damage taken by 20% for 20 seconds, and it has a passive that reduces your max HP by 5%. As a 4-star magic, I think it's one of the only poison equips in the game. So, I mean, I guess there is that. But if you just need a poison equip, there are other poison equips in the game that are really good, like for example the 4-star physical, which is the secret equip from I think the plant boss in the story, that you could just use that. Of course, it's not a 4-star magic, but it is a 4-star physical. I'll just say this is like a C tier item. If you fight the Omega plant boss, you can get something known as the Spare Vine, which is quite possibly one of the other items in this game that I will say is a must-have for any earth damage dealer that has a 5-star magic slot, especially if they're a nuker. I use this on literally any earth nuker in the game that has a 5-star magic. It is insanely good. Even with its negative costing 50 art gauge, you don't see it. The reason why you don't see it is because you wait and pop the Spare Vine when you use your true art. Because you're using your true art, well, it doesn't matter it's costing 50 art gauge now because you're already doing your true art. I think this is a must-have item for anybody that loves nuking with earth units and they have a 5-star magic. Deadmaster. Use this on him if you get it, and I guarantee you're going to see some insane damage numbers. Next, we have the newest addition to Global, which is actually Geo Zagnus. And he gives you a 4-star physical that's pretty solid. This costs 3% of your max HP, and you increase damage and water damage by 20% for 10 seconds. Really good if you have someone like Gray. This is one of the characters that I think this would be used on the most. I'm putting it in A tier. Really good item. I just don't think there's a lot of nukers in the game or attackers in the game that has a 4-star physical that are water units. In the future, as the game gets older and we get more and more attackers and nukers, one of them is bound to have a 4-star physical. If you fight the Omega version of this fight, you're able to get the 5-star variant of this, which has a passive where you increase your own water damage by 50%, and then for 50 seconds at the start of the quest, you consume your max HP by 5% per second. So this one is a little bit different from the other passives that we've seen so far. They give you a really good bonus and then a pretty bad negative. This one, I can say that if you can clear the quest fast enough, it's not that bad. I'm going to say this is a B tier item. Actually, yeah, you know what? We'll put it at C tier. Now, I don't know how I did this, but I think I missed Ifrit talking about all the global bosses. So let's talk about Ifrit's 4-star defense equip. This is a single target barrier that's a 4-star defense. It's F tier. 4-star defenses, you're probably going to be using something that just gives you AoE damage resist, or something that gives you like attack as like a passive, like for example, Dola armor. Now, if you fight the Omega variant of Ifrit, you can get the 5-star defense. And yeah, this one also F tier. Completely garbage. Like, not good at all. And that's actually it for all of the global bosses in the game at the moment. The next ones that we're going to be talking about are all going to be from the JP version, so strap in and let's get to it. This boy will give you a 4-star defense that's able to increase your skill CT recovery passively by 5%. You increase all allies magic res by 20%, and you reduce allies physical res by 20%. To be honest, this equip is a B tier equip in my opinion. It's pretty solid because if you are fighting any boss that is just a magic damage boss and they don't have any type of physical attacks in their kit, then you kind of just don't even have to worry about the negative. Now, if you fight the Omega Vows and Death, you will get the 5-star defense that has a 35-second cooldown. This increases your defense by 10% passively, and this will increase all allies physical res by 35%, but you reduce all allies attack by 70%. Anything that's reducing my damage is a no-go for me. So because of this, I'm putting this in F tier. Now next we have Belgaris, which is the wolf, the earth doggo that you have to poison. But this thing was able to give you a 4-star magic. Its passive is still time reduction and still evasion rate 10% up. Its skill is you increase your own accuracy rate by 30% and you reduce your own damage by 20%. Increasing your own accuracy is pretty good, but there's other ways for you to get 30% accuracy without reducing your damage by 20%. So yeah, not a great item. I'm putting this in D tier. Next, we have the 5-star magic. If you fight the Omega variant of this boss, if you want 100% crit rate, you could just use a 100% crit rate buff item or a crit buffer on your team and get it easier than this. I don't like this equip. I'm putting it in F tier. Next, we have the 4-star defense from the Freidel boss. This is good if a boss will only crit you, and I'm going to put it in D tier. Not that great, but okay at best. Now, if you fight the Omega variant of this boss, this thing will be on a 55-second cooldown. It gives you blind time reduction and blind evasion rate 20% up. Its skill is you reduce all allies attack by 50%, and you reduce all allies damage taken by 80% for the next 3 hits. Reducing everybody's attack by 50%, you guys know how I feel about this. Yeah, it's not that great. D tier item. It does have some use, but 50% attack down is a yikes from me. I'm not going to say this boss's name because I have no idea how to say it, but this thing will drop a 4-star physical with a 35-second cooldown. You increase earth res by 5%, and its skill is you reduce your own arc gauge by 10, and then for 10 seconds you increase your own damage to weak element enemies by 30%. So this is a 4-star physical with an actual pretty good item. This is pretty much same thing as Despair Vine, and I'll put it in A tier. Now, if you fight the Omega variant of this boss, this thing will give you a 5-star physical on a 40-second cooldown that gives you poison time reduction and poison evasion rate 10% up, and its skill will be you reduce all allies arc gauge by 20, and then for 10 seconds you increase all allies earth damage by 40%. Now, this would be a little bit hard to pull off, but this is pretty much just like Despair Vine and its 4-star counterpart. If you're able to use everybody's true arts first and then you pop this item, everybody just gets a free 40% earth damage to everyone. I'm gonna say this is a B tier item just because it's gonna be a little bit harder for you to do this, but if you can get it off consistently, then it's definitely an A tier item, but I'm just gonna say B tier. Next, we have Wilkes. Wilkes' equips are questionable. The first thing she has is a 4-star physical with a 9-second cooldown. Its passive is skill CT recovery 5% up, and its skill is an 11,000, but you faint yourself for 5 seconds. This is an F tier item. If you fight the Omega Wilkes, you have a chance to get the 5-star physical, which has a passive increasing your attack by 10%, and then its skill is for 20 seconds you increase your own arc gauge by 3 and physical damage by 30%. Oh, by the way, you faint yourself for 5 seconds. This is also just an F tier item, in my opinion. I mean, I can see some people argue this is good in like sustained comps because you get 20 seconds of arc gauge and physical damage 30%. So because of that, you know what, we'll put it in D tier, but the fainting your own self, you probably don't want to faint yourself for 5 seconds. And now we move on to the final equip of the mines in JP, at least to my knowledge, which is going to be dropped from the boy Rags. Rags is a mine boss now in the Japanese version, and he's able to give you a 4-star physical. Its passive is you increase your own defense by 5%, and then its skill is that it consumes 30% of your own max HP, and then for 10 seconds you increase your own damage and dark damage by 20%. This is an A tier item. Anything that's increasing my own damage and some type of elemental damage is really good. And there you go. That is the entire video and every single equip rated on a tier list. And, well, you know what? What are you doing? You didn't watch this whole video. Yeah, I know you didn't. You didn't go through and watch me explain every single one of them. And now you think I'm going to show you the entire tier list. What are you? You think I don't play the same game with other YouTubers? Do you really think that I'm going to show you the entire tier list? You know, I need the watch time. I got a family to feed. Christmas is just around the corner, ladies and gentlemen. I gotta buy Christmas presents.
And you would go to the end of this video to just see the tier list and screenshot it and leave. To discuss it with yourself. You can't even believe that I became this woke at the end of the video. And I bet you really want that tier list, right? You're probably scrubbing along in the video right now, seeing what I'll do. Like, where's this tier list? Why does this guy keep talking to me? You really want it that bad, don't you? Oh man, but I'm a tease.
If you guys want to see more tier lists like this, of course, let me know down below in the comment section what else you guys would like to see in the game. This was pretty fun to make, and I like doing these videos. They're a little bit longer than usual, but you know, I get to go in depth with pretty much every single thing that I talk about. And oh yeah, please let me know down below in the comment section if you think any of these equips should be rated higher or lower. If you enjoyed this video, highly recommend check out either one of the videos popping on your screen right now. Great content, guarantee you'll love them. And oh yeah, before you leave, don't forget to drink water.